The radical left felt differently about the day. They weren't moved. You'll be shocked to hear the people who would celebrate Charlie's death also found no reason to repent, having gotten to know his friends, his family, his wife, his colleagues. Nothing could move them. And so they decided to zero in on that one comment by Trump, which was funny and, as you say, self-deprecating, and on Stephen Miller's speech, which I'm just going to be honest, was one of my favorite speeches.
I loved it.
Because
I told him I loved it.
My anger is still strong, and it was one of those shoot it into my veins moments. I wanted to hear him say, like, we're going to go after our enemies. Like, there's a reason they killed Charlie, and it was like, yes. So we cut a little bit of this so-called rage fest. Rage fest is how the Huffington Post described Charlie's memorial. The whole thing. Okay. It was not a rage fest. The opposite. It was a love fest. But some of us needed the Stephen Miller moment, and here's part of it.
Defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us, because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy.
All right, Michael Knowles, I don't take Valium, but I imagine if I took Valium, that's how I would feel. Like, okay, I'm settling. I feel better. I don't know, like somehow I went from feeling like angst to feeling like, yes, everything's going to be okay, because he gets it. We needed him too.
The person I was sitting next to during Stephen's speech turns to me, and he's not Jewish, this person, but he said, wow, Michael, the Jews really do the Old Testament well. They really know what they're doing. This is bringing some real power and force here.
Nailed it.
And I was joking with some friends that I was sitting with. I said, look, I'm very traditional. Someday when my time comes, I want it to be very trad, no speeches, no eulogy, all the rest of it. I said, with one exception. I told this to Stephen Miller. I said, Stephen, you can speak I want that speech at my funeral.
No matter how I went.
Same speech.
Right, the same speech no matter what.
Yes, I don't care. I could go at age 105 of old age or something. But what Stephen was expressing there, I think, stirred a lot of people's hearts. I think it spoke to a lot of what we were yearning for. And, by the way, even that was a deeply Christian message. We build, they destroy. That has been true since the terms left and right entered into politics during the French Revolution, when the leftists sat on the left side of the National Assembly and the Christians and the people who wanted to maintain order sat on the right side. The left was tearing things down, killing people, chopping off heads, burning buildings, and the right was trying to preserve civilization. And this has a Christian resonance too, because evil does not have an existence in itself. There are plenty of religious systems that say that there's evil and there's good, and it's this kind of dualist system where they're duking it out. That's what Manichaeism is. That's what all number of heresies are. That's not what Christianity says. Christianity says there is good. There is good. Good is so real that good is even incarnate, and good is absolute. And evil has no existence of itself. Evil is merely a privation of the good. Evil is merely known by its distance away from God. And so we don't need to fear evil as some rival God that could overtake us. No, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness never overtakes it. And that is what Stephen's saying. He says, what we are doing is we're building, we're constructing, we're creating something that is positive, that has an existence in itself. And if they want to tear it down and knock it down, let them try their very best. Pay them no heed. We're going to keep moving forward. A beautiful message, a Christian message, and a message I think we all know Charlie would heartily agree with.
The other thing that's infuriating about, calling it a rage fest, and that's just one example. There's plenty of lefty media coverage. Like here's just one. Liberal podcast host David Pakman. The Charlie Kirk funeral is absolutely disgusting, riddled with speeches that only dial up the temperature. Stephen Miller's was particularly vile. A lot of posts like that from the left. But what's particularly annoying about that reaction is, does anyone have any idea what they're doing to Stephen Miller, what they've done to Stephen Miller in Trump 1.0 and the interim and then Trump 2.0? That poor guy has been harassed at every turn in all aspects of his life. They labeled him a white supremacist, and they are literally comparing him to Joseph Goebbels again all over the internet today. I'm sorry, they want to get him killed. The way they gin up hatred around him, you would behave no differently if you had a goal of having somebody take Stephen Miller out. And Trump, they're taking umbrage with Trump saying, I hate my enemies, I hate them. Why wouldn't he? They literally tried to put him in prison for the rest of his life. They tried to bankrupt him. And then two people who are very influenced by their messages tried to kill him. But they want Trump to be Erica Kirk. They want Stephen Miller to be Erica Kirk. Just go out there with a forgiving message. And would they change their messages about those two if they had that moment on stage? Hell no.
Certainly not. You mentioned this liberal streamer, David Pakman. I seem to recall some time ago, he mocked Christian children for being massacred, said, oh, they need to pray more or something like that. And it's not just him. Many people have had this kind of a response, and it's vile. It has more than a whiff of the demonic to it. But they, even in the midst of all of this political violence, they continue to call for it. As you point out, Megyn, the two people who tried to murder Trump, one who got quite close, were inspired by the Democrat rhetoric. You don't need to look too closely into it. Joe Biden started his presidential campaign by saying that Donald Trump poses an existential threat to the country. When you use a term like that, existential threat, you are clearly justifying violence, because the violence would be in self-defense. You saw plenty of people celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. You saw plenty of people excusing it. You've seen violence from the left over the course of many years at this point. And you're seeing now, even in California, Gavin Newsom is trying, as a matter of law, though it will fail, to make ICE agents take their masks down. They have masks on so that they're not doxxed and harassed by the illegal alien Latin American cartels and the radical leftists. I'm not sure which is more dangerous at this point.
Right.
But Newsom is doing that. He says, what are you afraid of? We know the obvious answer. They're afraid that these people are going to kill them, and they have very good reason to be afraid of that. And the only reason that Gavin Newsom is pushing for this law is to intimidate them, to threaten them, and to increase the chances that they're murdered. So the left has manifestly learned no lesson on political violence, still seeks the targeting of its political opponents, and we have to accept that fact and respond accordingly by reinstituting some order to the public square, punishing people where their threats and their incitement are indeed criminal, taking these people and ostracizing them from polite society. Their very existence in polite society undermines the free marketplace of ideas. They need to go live private lives somewhere else where they are not creating this kind of a danger and disrupting American liberty. They've shown us who they are repeatedly, and their reaction to the Kirk Memorial is the latest reaffirmation of that.
So what is your mindset right now? Because a lot of the folks I talked to behind stage yesterday were angry, like we are, about the left and what's been done here, what's been done to Charlie 11 days ago, 12 days ago, and what's been done in the wake of his death, too. And felt that it's just time to go scorched earth. We can't deal with these people at all. And I've been saying that in this show, full disclosure. And others feeling more connected with God and Christian faith and so on, were feeling like, let's try to extend the olive branch. We've got a country to save, and that means we're going to have to work with the left and, the reasonable left. and not be scorched earth. And I just want to say one thing about it. One of the reasons why I'm in the former camp and just think it's time for scorched earth. I've always been the more moderate one, Michael. I really have been. I've been like more moderate. I haven't not been like a hard right conservative, but they've driven me here. Like they have not shown the ability or willingness to work with us. And now our people are getting killed, like literally getting killed, almost assassinated in Trump's case, actually assassinated in Charlie's. And I'm just done. I'm just done. Is that they won't take responsibility for what happened. They won't admit that Charlie's killer was of the left. And they won't admit that the political violence we've been seeing in this country is overwhelmingly from the left. Maybe you could find one or two incidents out of the past 20 that you could blame on a righty. Nothing's coming to mind. But okay, I'm sure there's one or two. But the vast majority is coming from them, and they won't acknowledge it, which is why I'm feeling radicalized. But where are you?
Not only will they not acknowledge it, they'll lie about it. You had that Democrat Congressman Seth Moulton come out immediately after Charlie's death and lie on television and say that 3/4 of political violence in America comes from the right, only 4% comes from the left. When I heard this, I thought, well, that doesn't sound right to me, but I don't know. I haven't looked at the crime statistics. Let me see where he gets those numbers from. And I look, and there are a couple of studies that suggest as much. And then I said, hold on. Let me look at the actual incidents of violence. And I just considered the ones that were closer to me. The shooting in Nashville, the trans ideologue who shot up a school of Christian children, who confessed her ideological motivations and who began the killing by shooting through stained glass an image of Adam and Eve, rather charged imagery. And I looked at that, and then I saw that the authorities did not consider that to be ideologically motivated. So it was not considered like a trans ideologue targets little Christian children for belief. That's not far left violence. Then that same year, I was actually involved in one of these incidents. I was giving a talk, it was a debate on transgenderism at the University of Pittsburgh. And two anarchists showed up, a couple, and they burned me in effigy on the street and all these sorts of things. But then they threw an explosive at the building as I walked on stage and seriously injured a female police officer. One of them is in federal prison right now for this. That incident is not classified as left-wing violence. These were card-carrying anarchists, member of an Antifa network, actual terrorists who were stopped multiple times going through TSA with explosive material on them. That doesn't count. And I realized how the left, people like Seth Moulton, arrive at that statistic. They don't count the left-wing violence. So it turns out leftists don't commit political violence so long as you don't count any of the violence that the leftists commit. And so that number is ridiculous. And then you see the celebrations and the excuses and the justifications and all the rest of it. And I understand the urge to go scorched earth. I just think it's kind of a false dichotomy. I don't think that the distinction is between going scorched earth and bringing the bad to bear versus, Christian piety. There's nothing about Christianity that tells us to be wimps. There's nothing about Christian piety that says that we ought to let the cruel rape the innocent. That has nothing to do with Christianity. It's a total error and misunderstanding. What I think is required right now is that we, in charity, with love for our enemies, willing their good, have to reestablish order, because order and liberty are not at odds. We're talking about these apparent contradictions that are not really contradictions. Liberty requires order. You cannot be free if you're undisciplined. You cannot be free if you're totally ignorant. This is why we don't let toddlers vote. Okay, we know this philosophically, but we also know it intuitively. You can't have a marketplace of ideas if people keep coming in and shooting up the marketplace. Marketplaces require order and regulations and common media of exchange and all manner of civilization. So that's what we have to insist upon. Even going back, I was reminded of Plato's Gorgias, which is a treatise on how to deal with criminals. And one of the interlocutors says to Socrates, well, it's better for criminals if you let them off the hook. You don't prosecute them. And Socrates says, no, to the contrary. It's much worse for criminals. You need to rehabilitate criminals. If you allow them to continue to do all these terrible things, they'll be distorting their own souls, and it will lead to eternal consequences for them. What you have to do, not only to protect the innocent, but even to help the guilty, is you need to correct them. And we need to be able to have a society that advances the common good. That's the whole point of a state.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, it would be. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. So they created something special. And through September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is going to offer you a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit just right now. Text MK to the number 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into one in gold. And you're still eligible for a rebate and free metals of up to $10,000. Make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy by September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.